Good morning and welcome, and I am Dr. Peter Holmes, orthopedic surgeon and host of your program, Ask the Doctor. My guest this morning is Dr. Darren Bell. Dr. Darren Bell is an ophthalmologist who specializes in care of the retina. Any questions for Dr. Bell in the future? Any of my other guests? Two ways to do it: through my foundation, which is www.needfoundation.org, or fax 696-9012. I'd like to talk about Fannie Mae and the uninsured patient. Now, how could those relate? Well, what it relates to is basically how the private sector is affected by government programs. In Fannie Mae, if everybody's trying to figure all this stuff out, basically we're giving out loans to people that had no equity or ability to pay them, and packaging these loans, and then these loans were then given or sold to banks on the auspices that they had some value. In other words, we weren't too sure how valuable they were. They assumed there was some value. The banks picked up these loans because in order to merge and become bigger, they were told to pick these up, and they sort of had to. Well, then they went to open these loans as they sold them and found out, poof, there was nothing of value in many of these Fannie Mae packaged loans. And therefore, low value there, the banks have to be compensated in the private sector from above, i.e. your tax dollars, to compensate for it. In other words, good banks being drawn down by federal program. Similarly, let's look at one of the major causes, in my opinion, for the uninsured patient, and that's Medicare. Why? 50% of hospital beds in a major hospital are made up of Medicare patients. Medicare reimburses the hospitals very poorly in many situations, especially if they have a chronic illness or complication. The hospitals then, in order to stay afloat, have to bump the bills of the private sector. So, if you have a total knee on Medicare, Medicare reimburses the hospital around 10 grand. The component itself is 6 grand. So they only clear 4,000, and that's to keep you in the operating room, take care of you and all that. So the private patient is billed 30,000. As an average, each one ought to be paying 15. So what happens, since Medicare doesn't have the money, since they didn't save a dime in the trust fund, they underpay the hospital. The hospitals pay or charge more to the private patient. Now the private patients, private insurance rates go up higher to reflect their hit on that total knee. Private insurance rates then go up, and more can't afford the private insurance, and they become uninsured. So in this entity, again, a government entity has pushed the cost onto a private entity, and it's gone into trouble. I don't see much difference between Fannie Mae and how Medicare causes the uninsured. Fannie Mae affects good banks. Medicare causes uninsured. In both cases, empty government promises have affected the private industries. These are my opinions. If you have any comments, two ways to reach me. Do it through the foundation, www.needfoundation.org, or fax 696-9012 to ask the doctor.
Hi, I'm James, and I play football again because of the Orthopedic Knee Foundation.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Holmes. Others like James could use your help. The Orthopedic Knee Foundation was formed to help those families without insurance or underinsurance. Every donation is important to get them back to their pre-injury level.
You can send your donations online at www.needfoundations.org or call 210-542-1722. All donations are tax deductible. Make a difference in a child's life.